Hey guys, since fall time is coming up, I wanted to show you how I did this design with neutral colors. It's actually pretty easy, but before we start, I'm gonna be creating the nails. On this first one, I'm gonna be doing this ombre design between the dark brown as well as some pink. So first, I'm going to be creating the tip of the nail, and then I'm going to move on and use the pink acrylic and mix both of the colors. What you guys gotta make sure here is to create liquid bits. In that way, it's going to be a lot easier to mix both of the colors. Otherwise, what can happen is that the acrylic can dry out and can leave little patches, and you would have to file it, and the whole process is going to take way longer. Also, an extra step that I like to do when I create this type of designs is to encapsulate the nail. You guys don't have to do this, but I feel like it makes the nail look smoother. And I'm going to be using crystal clear acrylic. I'm going to be adding some bits until the entire nail is covered. And of course, I'm going to be applying some pressure on the sides. What this is going to do is that it's going to leave the nail looking more natural. Now moving on to the second nail, this one is going to be an average nail. I'm not going to do anything special to it. So I'm going to be adding the bit between the natural nail and the form. What this is going to do is that it's going to make your nail be stronger and have less chances of actually breaking. I recommend you guys to create nails this way. Trust me, I tried it different ones, but this one is always the one that I go back to. Now I'm gonna add the last bead, and here I'm gonna make sure that everything is fully covered. It's so important not to leave any spots left behind, because those are little spaces that can make your acrylic nail eventually break. And this is how it looks like. Now I'm gonna move on and do the third nail. Here is going to be the same thing. I'm gonna follow the same technique. I'm going to put the first bead between the natural nail and the form. Slowly using my brush, I'm going to do little taps on the acrylic, and I'm going to move it downwards until it gets kind of like on the XL size. Also, something that I like to do is I follow the lines on the form. In that way, it's a lot easier to create straight sides. To finish off, I'm going to add the last bead. Here, what you guys have to remember is not to touch the cuticle or the skin, because that can make your acrylic nail start lifting, and it can possibly make it fall off a lot sooner than it's supposed to. And on to the last nail. This one is also going to be an ombre design, so I'm going to be creating the tip of the nail using the brown acrylic. This is so simple. I'm going to be adding some bits, and I'm going to push it upwards until it gets on the middle of the nail. Then I'm going to move on, and I'm going to use the pink acrylic. Like I said before, I'm going to try to do kind of liquid bits so I can mix both of the colors. And then I'm going to apply the last bead and make sure that everything is fully covered. Also, I'm going to be encapsulating this last nail. Like I done before, I'm going to use the same crystal clear acrylic, and I'm going to be adding some bits. I'm gonna make sure that everything is encapsulated, and I'm gonna try to make the nail be smooth. This is how the acrylic nails ended up looking. They're not perfect, but that's why filing is so important. When I file nails, I always like to start by the sides. Here, I'm gonna put the file completely straight and make sure that the square shaped nails are as clean as possible. And this is how the nails ended up looking. Like you guys can tell, now they look a lot more sharp. And the last step to do is to file the surface. This step is very important. What you guys want to make sure here is that to make the nails be as smooth as possible. Otherwise, what can happen is that the design can end up having little bumps. And before I start doing the design, I'm gonna clean off these nails, because like you guys can tell, filing leaves a lot of dust, and that can make our design look dirty. Also, I'm gonna show you the colors that I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna do a mix of this dark brown as well as a little bit of white, because I want most of the colors to be kind of on the lighter side. You guys can use any of the colors that you like. Now I'm gonna start doing the design on this first nail. What I'm going to do here is kind of create this type of half French design. It's a little bit odd to explain, but basically what I'm gonna do is that I'm only gonna create the left side of it. The first thing that I did is that I made the shape, and then using the same color I'm gonna start filling it in. What can happen is that with the first coat it's probably not gonna be fully covered, but that's okay, just cure it and then add some more of these nail polish. I'm also going to be using a little bit of white. Basically I'm gonna create some details with it. You guys can skip this step, but I think that it ends up looking pretty cool. What I'm going to use this for is to create the outline of the French nail. I'm gonna use this very thin nail art brush and I'm gonna try to fill it in a little bit until it looks like the way that I like it. Before you guys do this, of course, make sure that the brown nail polish is fully cured, otherwise it's gonna be really complicated to create this extra step. Then I'm gonna move on and do the same design on the last nail. Like I've done before, I'm gonna create the outline of a half French nail and then I'm gonna fill it in with the same nail polish. Now I'm gonna add the extra detail using the white nail polish. This is very simple, it's basically the same thing that I done earlier, but the most important part of this is that you guys gotta make sure that it's kind of the same thickness, otherwise the design can look a little bit strange. Now moving on to the second nail, here's where I'm going to be doing this pumpkin. But like you guys can tell, I was gonna use some orange, but it didn't end up looking great, so I'm gonna use this lighter pinkish neutral color. The first thing is that I'm gonna create the outline, which is very simple. It's basically the shape of a huge heart. Then I'm gonna use the same nail polish and I'm gonna start filling it in. Also, you guys will probably have to do 2 coats on this because with the first one it's not gonna get fully covered. But remember to cure it for about 30 seconds each time that you do this. Now I'm gonna be using this dark brown nail polish to add some details to this pumpkin to actually make it look like a pumpkin. First, I'm gonna be outlining it, and I recommend you guys to use a very thin nail art brush, otherwise it's going to be very complicated. Now I'm gonna be adding some extra details because I want it to look as realistic as possible. What I'm gonna be doing is that I'm gonna create some thin curvy lines. You guys are doing the design, make sure to keep curing it as much as possible because otherwise what can happen is that you can bump into it and it can make it dirty and you would have to start all over again. Now I'm gonna add an extra detail before I'm done with this. I'm gonna create this type of fancy stamp and I'm gonna fill it in until it looks like the way I like it. Now moving on to the third nail, which is going to be the last design, and it's actually the easiest one. All I'm gonna do here is create some lines. I'm gonna start with the light brown and I'm gonna make this type of thicker line with it. Then I'm gonna follow with the dark brown that I have and I'm gonna do a thin line on the left side. Moving on, I'm gonna use the white and I'm gonna do another line. Now this one is gonna be a little bit thicker, but it's gonna be on the right side. And this is how it looks like, but we're not completely done yet. What we have to do is add this top coat that is going to leave the nails with this matte effect. I think that using matte nail polishes look really cool for the fall time. But what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna add it on all of the nails and cure it for about 60 seconds. Now, I wanted to show you guys the gel paint that I'm going to be using, which is this gold one. I think that it looks so pretty and it has a bunch of sparkles. I haven't used it in a long time, so I was really excited to add it on this design. And what I'm going to do here is very easy. I'm just gonna do 3 lines on these 3 nails, and I'm gonna try to make them as thin as possible. The last thing is that I'm gonna be using these really cool stones, kind of like diamond stones, and I'm gonna add them on the second nail where is the pumpkin. I'm just gonna be using some gel and add a bunch of them. And this is how the design ended up looking. It has a lot of fall vibes, so it's perfect for this time. And yeah, I hope that you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to subscribe because I post videos every Tuesday. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!